Hello and welcome to Glasgow Rangers Nation with me, your host Owen. Guys, thank you for your support over the last few days, weeks. We have been growing fantastically well here on the channel. Victoria and I are very grateful for all your support. Look out for some great podcasts that Victoria and I have got coming up next week. We've got some guests on. We're going to be some fantastic shows. So please make sure you hit that sub, ring that notification bell so you do not miss out on any of the fantastic Rangers daily content. Daily, yes, that's guys. We bring you daily content from the most successful team in the world. And both Victoria and I are Rangers fans. This is a fans channel run by fans for you, the fan. Anyway, let's talk about what Michael Beale has been saying. Michael Beale has been talking about the summer revamp that is upcoming at Rangers. I think everybody knows that the club needs to revamp over the summer, that needs to bring in 4, 5, 6 new faces to really give a new energy and new momentum to this squad. Michael Beale has talked about the fact that he obviously wants the squad to be tighter and slightly smaller in areas, so there is going to be obviously outgoings. Obviously topping that list at the moment are the likes of Filip Helander, who is likely to be leaving, Alfredo Morelos, who is strongly suggested will leave. He apparently this morning in the papers was linked with a move to Galatasaray. Also, there's been talks of Yanis Hadji being moved. Leeds United interested in Yanis Hadji, also Borussia Mönchengladbach, and also Turkish giants Galatasaray as well interested in Yanis Hadji. Now, Michael Beale, it is believed, has handed to Ross Wilson, the sporting director, a list of 5 names that he would like brought in this summer to further strengthen Rangers' squad. And Michael Beale has said that he does not need to spend a vast sum of money in order to make Rangers competitive and really push that awful mob from across the city. It seems like I said that he said that it's not going to have to cost a fortune, were his exact words. He said, good players don't need to cost the earth. So what has Beale been saying to the papers, and has been saying when he talked to the Scottish Sun, to Daily Record, and to the Scotsman about his plans for Rangers this summer? He said, I identified some really good players for the club, and the club is away working on that. Good players don't always cost lots. They just have to fit the way you want to play. I think this is a really good analysis here from Beale. And he says it doesn't have to fit the way, it just has to fit the way you want to play. You know, you can have some of the best stats in the world, some of the greatest goal contribution stats in the world, or some of the greatest defensive stats in the world. But if you cannot cut it in this physical type of football that Scottish football is, and in particular in the old firm game, you can have all the great stats in the world, but if you cannot cut it, then it's obviously not going to work, is it? Look at Amad Diallo, for example. Amad Diallo has been a great success at Sunderland this season, playing in the English Championship, which is a different form of football to the SPL. There is a physicality in the English Championship, but obviously not the 100 million miles an hour physicality of the Scottish Premier League at times. So Diallo has obviously gone from strength to strength down there, whereas he was never really a success at Glasgow Rangers. You've just got to look at the fact that the likes of Todd Cantwell has come in and been an absolute success and did not cost the earth. He was not a very, very expensive player, which is something that Michael Beale touched on in his interview. He said, he said, look at Todd Cantwell. He said, look at Nico Raskin. They didn't cost huge amounts of money. And I think we can both agree, I think we can all agree, that these two guys have really come in Raskin and in Cantwell and really added something to this team. A real go forward, a real positivity, a real quality of play. Both of these players look absolute quality players. And had they started the League Cup final, who knows, the results could have come out very different indeed for Glasgow Rangers. Michael Beale went on to talk a bit more about the summer revamp. He said, certainly with the salaries we have going out at the end of contracts, we have finance to bring in players, which is obviously true. You know, the likes obviously of Morelos possibly moving on, possibly Kent, Filip Helander, for example, a number of players that are out of contract. You know, you've all seen the lists. You've seen the big list of players that are out of contract. You've seen who isn't available. I mean, here is the list of players that could be leaving at the end of this season. Kent, Morelos, Jack, although Jack, like I said in my video yesterday, is rumoured to have been offered a new deal. Arfield, Davis, Alan McGregor, who's likely to go, and obviously Kieran Wright could also be possibly on his way out as well. Obviously, that leaves spaces where Rangers will need to fill, the likes obviously of the goalkeeper, hence the links to Freddie Woodman and Jack Butland, and today, this morning, further links to Angus Gunn, the son of former Scotland goalkeeper Brian Gunn. In addition to that, obviously, there is the Malik Tillman deal, where Rangers will have to pay a substantial amount of cash to keep hold of Tillman. And I know that is certainly something that divides supporters' opinion, whether he is worth the 5 to 6 million that has been talked about. Beale said there are good players out there available on loan as well. Malik Tillman has been one of the better players in this league, and he has been a loan player this season. It's to be hoped that he's signed on a permanent basis over the summer. He said that helps, but my staff are extensive in terms of our knowledge of players and those coming through the different systems. Our scouting department is really good as well. It's about identifying the right names and making sure they are a good fit for this team. So we'll build a stronger squad than this season. It's just how quickly we can get that team up and running. In terms of the number of signings, there is no set number on it, but you could say now there will be comfortably 5 new faces. So it's clear here that Michael Beale is not putting any sort of limit on the number of players that Rangers will bring in over the summer, but he is saying it's going to be a minimum of 5 new faces. He went on to say, if we sell, we'd replace like for like in terms of positions. So it could be any number. He was also asked, about the fact that some players who've been at the club for a long time, some of them been there for too long? He said that some players are on their 3rd manager in a short period of time, and some have had incredible highs here. So maybe they feel it's this moment to change, or maybe I feel it's this moment to change. Have you got the stomach for another 3 years of fighting, moving forward? People get older, don't they? It's not if they're the right people then, but do they have the right energy to help close that gap? And that's certainly something that is very true of what Beale is saying here. Certainly there are some talented players in this team, and there are some talented veteran players in this team, but it's whether or not they've got the fight to go again against Celtic, or whether it is the right time to move them on. The likes, obviously, of John Lundstrom, Glenn Kamara, obviously spring to mind in this sentence. And also, the likes, obviously, of Scotty Arfield, who is out of contract. Is it right to bring him back, perhaps just as an impact sub? Or is it time to thank Scott for his services to the club and allow him to move on as well? Michael Beale went on to talk about the fact that, back in the day, he said that back when him and Stephen Gerrard came in to manage the club, Brendan Rodgers was firing on all cylinders. Before we came in, the results were big, and then we managed to do very well in that fixture. Then when I came back, the results had become very poor again. Again, talking about the whole Celtic situation, Stephen Gerrard and him had very much closed that gap, but now it seems to be that Celtic have expanded the gap again. He says you try and make it more competitive and ultimately move forward. But coming out of the summer window, you'll see a Rangers team that looks very different on the pitch, which I think is true. We're going to have to see a team that is very different, very much ready to compete, very much ready to fight for that league title, very much ready to fight for the League Cup and fight for the Scottish Cup, for all 3 trophies, and fight in the Champions League next season. That's what Beale needs to do, and that's what he's clearly promising here. Michael Beale went on to say, it's not just about next season, though. It's how we get to the summer. We have the Scottish Cup, which is really important, but our form in the league, we've done everything we can to do, really. But while we've been in a good place, they have been too. We can only take care of ourselves and win the games that are in front of us. And so far, we have done that. We're not going to get any praise at the moment because we are where we are. We understand that. But there is a good work feeling going on here. I think that's a positive. The fact we are still 9 points behind that great unwashed scum from across the city. Of course we are. There's the Scottish Cup final coming up. Scottish semi-final coming up, obviously, as well, that they are to compete for. And Beale is right in the fact it's how we get to the end of that season. It's about laying down a marker, I think, between now and the end of this season, and showing Celtic that we're not going to stop, we're not going to give up, we're not going to let them do whatever they want. We're going to keep fighting till the end. And that is something that I think Michael Beale is clearly determined to do with these comments. But certainly interesting comments indeed about the number of players that he is aspiring to bring in this summer and really revamp and change this Rangers team, ready to go again next season to really fight with those dirty green and white scum from across the city. Anyway, Rangers fans, let me know what you think of what Michael Beale has had to say about this revamp this summer in the comments below. And keep watching out for all the great content. The only way you can do that is by pressing the sub, ringing the notification bell. Guys, that's the only way you can keep up to date with Glasgow Rangers, the most successful team in football. Thank you so much for watching Glasgow Rangers Nation. I'll be back to speak to you again very soon here on the channel.